The first sign is the rats. You notice them in the grain store, dead, dozens of them. Their bellies are bloated and black fluid leaks from their mouths. You think nothing of it. Rats die all the time. You sweep them out and forget about them. That was your first mistake. You are a peasant in a small village in England. The year is 1348. You work the fields of Lord Ashworth's manor. You have a wife, 2 children, and a one-room cottage with a dirt floor. You own nothing. Not the land, not the tools, not even the clothes on your back. Everything belongs to the Lord. You are bound to this village. You cannot leave without his permission. This is called serfdom. You are not a slave, technically, but the difference is academic. You work 6 days a week. On Sunday, you pray. This is your entire existence. This is all you have ever known. Your father worked these fields. Your grandfather worked these fields. Your children will work these fields after you are gone. That is the natural order. That is how it has always been. It is October. The harvest is finished. You should be relieved. Winter will be hard, but you have stored enough grain to survive until spring. The Lord took his share, of course. He always takes his share. But there is enough left for your family. You should be celebrating. Instead, people are talking about a sickness. Traders who came through last month mentioned it. They said it started in the east, somewhere beyond Constantinople, in the lands of the Mongols. They said it came on ships filled with dead sailors. They said entire cities are empty. They said the dead are piled in the streets higher than a man can reach. You do not believe them. Traders exaggerate. That is how they sell their goods. They tell stories of far-off horrors to make you grateful for what you have. But now the rats are dying, and now your neighbor Thomas is sick. Thomas was fine 3 days ago. You saw him in the fields. He complained about his back, same as always. Everyone complains about their back. Decades of labor bend a man by the time he reaches 40. You laughed with him. You shared some bread. Then yesterday his wife came to your cottage. She was crying. Thomas has a fever, she said. He cannot keep food down. He has lumps under his arms. They are black. The lumps. They are the size of eggs, and they are black as pitch. You go to see him. You wish you had not. Thomas is lying on his bed, a pile of straw covered in rough wool. He is drenched in sweat. His skin has a grayish color you have never seen on a living person. The lumps his wife described are worse than you imagined. They bulge from his neck and his groin. They look ready to burst. Some of them have burst. Black pus oozes from the ruptured skin. The smell in the cottage is overwhelming. It is the smell of rot, of something dead. But Thomas is still breathing. His eyes are open. He looks at you. He tries to speak. Blood comes out instead of words. Black blood. His wife holds his hand and weeps. You do not know what to say. There is nothing to say. Thomas dies that night. His wife is dead within the week. His 3 children follow shortly after. Their cottage sits empty. No one wants to touch anything inside. You do not understand what is happening. Neither does anyone else. The village priest says it is a punishment from God. He says you have all sinned, and this is your reckoning. The sins of mankind have finally grown too great. God has sent this plague to cleanse the earth, just as he sent the flood in Noah's time. He leads the village in prayer. You kneel in the cold church for hours. You confess every sin you can remember, lies you told, impure thoughts you had. Food you stole from the Lord's stores during the famine 2 years ago. You confess sins you are not sure you committed, just in case. It does not help. People keep dying. The Lord sends his physician. He arrives on a horse, wearing expensive clothes that cost more than everything you own combined. He examines the sick from a distance. He holds a cloth soaked in vinegar over his nose. He does not touch anyone. He says the sickness is caused by bad air, a miasma rising from the earth. He says you must burn fires to purify the air. Aromatic woods, herbs, anything that produces pleasant smoke. He says you must carry flowers and herbs to ward off the corruption. He says you must avoid bathing because water opens the pores and lets the sickness into your body. He says you must bleed the sick to drain the evil humors. Then he rides back to the manor and does not return. You never see him again. You burn fires, you carry flowers. You stop bathing, which is easy, because you rarely bathed anyway. The local barber bleeds the sick until they are white and weak. None of it works. Your wife's brother is next, then his wife, then their children, one by one. Your wife cries every night. She prays until her voice gives out. She begs you to take the family and run, to flee to somewhere the sickness has not reached. But run where? The next village is the same. Travelers report the same story everywhere. The cities are worse. London is a graveyard. The bodies are thrown into massive pits because there are too many to bury properly. The gravediggers are overwhelmed. They die too. There is nowhere to go. The death toll rises. 1 week it is 5 people. The next week it is 12. The week after that you stop counting, because counting only makes the horror more real. The village had 60 souls. Now you are not sure how many remain. Every morning you wake up and wait to see who has died in the night. You check yourself for lumps, running your hands under your arms, around your neck, in your groin. You check your wife. You check your children. So far, nothing. You do not know why you have been spared. You have been exposed to the sick. You have touched the dead. You helped carry Thomas to his grave. But you are still here. The priest dies. He was praying over a dying woman when he suddenly collapsed. He had the lumps under his arms. They appeared within hours. He lasted 2 days raving and screaming. Now there is no one to perform last rites. No one to hear confession. No one to forgive sins. People are dying unshriven, their souls damned to eternal torment. This terrifies you more than the sickness itself. You have endured hunger. You have endured cold. You have endured the brutality of your Lord, the back-breaking labor, the endless poverty. But you have always had the promise of heaven. If this life is suffering, the next will be paradise. That is what the church teaches. That is what makes the suffering bearable. Now even that is being taken away. The bodies pile up. At first you dug proper graves, individual holes in the churchyard, blessed ground, marked with crosses. You said proper prayers, the ones you remembered from years of Sundays. Now there is no time. There are not enough people left to dig. You drag the corpses to a pit at the edge of the village and roll them in. Fathers next to sons, mothers next to children, strangers next to strangers. You cover them with lime to mask the smell and slow the rot. You try not to look at their faces. Some of them were your friends. Some of them you have known your entire life. Now they are rotting meat in a hole. Your son gets sick. He is 8 years old. He wakes up with a fever on a Tuesday morning. You tell yourself it is just a cold. Children get colds all the time. It will pass. But by the afternoon the lumps appear. Your wife screams when she sees them. She screams and screams until her voice breaks into harsh sobs. You hold your son. You wipe his forehead with a wet cloth. You pray harder than you have ever prayed. You make bargains with God. Take me instead. Take my wife. Take my arm. Take my eyes. Take anything. Just let him live. He is innocent. He has done nothing wrong. Why punish him for the sins of others? God does not answer. Your son dies in your arms on the 3rd day. His last words are asking for water. You could not even give him that. The well has been fouled by all the death. Too many bodies, too close to the water table. You have to walk a mile to find clean water. And by the time you return, he is gone. His eyes are still open. You close them yourself. You will not throw him in the pit with the others. You dig a grave in the churchyard, even though there is no priest to consecrate it. Your muscles scream. Your hands blister. You do not care. You carve a crude cross from a branch. You say the prayers you remember, the Latin phrases you have heard 1,000 times, without understanding. Your wife does not help. She does not speak. She sits in the corner of the cottage and stares at nothing. She has not spoken since she found the lumps on your son. Your daughter is next. She is 6. The lumps appear 2 days after you bury her brother. You do not scream this time. You do not pray. You just hold her and wait. She asks you if she is going to die. You lie. You tell her she will be fine. She believes you because she is 6 and she trusts her father. She dies faster than your son did. The sickness is getting stronger. Or maybe her body was weaker. You bury her next to her brother. 2 small graves in a row. 2 wooden crosses. You cannot remember their faces anymore. You think about their faces constantly, but the details blur. You know you will forget eventually, and that knowledge is unbearable. Your wife dies 4 days later. She never spoke again after finding your son's lumps. She stopped eating. She stopped drinking. She just sat in the corner and stared. When the lumps appeared on her neck, she did not react. She did not cry. She did not fight. The sickness took her, but you think she had already decided to leave. She did not want to live in a world without her children. You do not blame her. You understand. You are alone now. You walk through the village and see no one. The cottages are empty. Doors hang open. Animals wander loose because there is no one left to tend them. The fields are untended, crops rotting in the ground. Crows circle overhead, fat and slow from feeding on the dead. You are the last one. At least, you think you are. You have not seen another living person in 3 days. You go to the manor. You have never been inside the manor. Peasants are not allowed. The Lord's home is a different world, forbidden and mysterious. But there are no guards at the gate. There is no one to stop you. You walk through the great hall. Tapestries hang on the walls depicting hunts and battles and scenes from scripture. There is food on the table, rotting. Flies swarm around it. Silver cups and golden plates, more wealth than you have seen in your entire life. You find Lord Ashworth in his bedchamber. He is dead. The lumps are visible on his neck, swollen and black. His face is frozen in an expression of terror. Even the Lord could not escape. His wealth meant nothing. His power meant nothing. The sickness does not care about rank or title or the amount of land you own. You take food from the manor, cheese, bread, dried meat, things you could never afford. You take a warm cloak lined with fur. You take a knife with a jeweled handle. You take whatever you can carry. You are no longer a peasant. There is no one left to be a peasant for. The entire system that governed your life has collapsed. The Lord is dead. The priest is dead. The laws mean nothing when there is no one to enforce them. You start walking. You do not know where you are going. South, maybe. Somewhere warmer. Somewhere the sickness has not reached if such a place exists. You pass through other villages along the road. They are the same. Empty. Pits full of bodies. Dogs eating corpses in the street, because there is no one left to bury them. Some villages have been burned, deliberately set ablaze by survivors hoping fire would cleanse the corruption. Smoke still rises from the ruins. You do not stop. You keep walking. You meet others on the road. Survivors, like you. Hollow-eyed people carrying bundles of belongings, moving from nowhere to nowhere. Families reduced to single members. Children wandering alone. Their parents dead. No one talks much. What is there to say? You travel together for safety. The roads are dangerous now. Bandits roam freely. The sickness has unleashed the worst of humanity, along with the best. Men who were once farmers and craftsmen are now robbers and murderers. They take what they want because there is no one to stop them. No law, no lords, no justice. You reach a larger town after 2 weeks of walking. You hoped it would be better here. More people, more resources, more organization. It is worse. The streets are piled with bodies 3 deep. The stench is unbearable. A physical wall of corruption that hits you before you even enter the gates. The few survivors you see are half mad with grief and fear. They wander the streets muttering to themselves. Some of them whip themselves as they walk. Flagellants trying to appease God through suffering. They believe the plague is punishment for sin, and that extreme penance will earn forgiveness. Blood runs down their backs. They scream prayers and drag heavy crosses. It does not help. They die just like everyone else. You find shelter in an abandoned house, a wealthy merchant's home, empty now. You eat the food you took from the manor. You sleep on a real bed for the first time in your life. Feathers and soft linen and thick blankets. You should feel something, joy perhaps. Relief, you feel nothing. Your family is dead. Everyone you ever knew is dead. You are alive and you do not know why. You are not special. You did nothing to deserve survival. It was pure chance, pure luck. The random cruelty of a universe that does not care whether you live or die. Months pass. The sickness seems to slow. Fewer people are dying, but that is only because there are fewer people left to die. You hear estimates from travelers and officials trying to restore order. Half the village, half the town, half the country, half of everyone everywhere. The world you knew is over. The old order has been swept away like dust. You find work eventually. There's plenty of it. So many have died that those who remain can demand better wages. The labor shortage has flipped the entire economy. Lords who once owned you now have to pay you. They have no choice. If they do not pay fairly, you leave. There are 100 other lords desperate for workers. Wages triple, quadruple. You negotiate contracts. You demand rights that would have been unthinkable a year ago. The entire order of society is shifting. Peasants become free men. Free men become landowners. Laws are passed trying to freeze wages and prevent mobility, but they cannot be enforced. There are not enough officials left to enforce anything. You own land now, a small farm. You work for yourself. This was impossible before the plague. Now it is common. The survivors have inherited the world. There is land for everyone who wants it. Empty cottages, abandoned fields, tools rusting in sheds. You take what you need, but you cannot enjoy it. Your children are dead. Your wife is dead. You walk your own fields, and you think about how proud your son would have been to see this. He would have run between the rows of grain, laughing. You eat meat every day, a luxury beyond imagination for a peasant before the plague, and you think about how your daughter always wanted more food, how she cried when she was hungry. They are gone. they will never know what you have become. They died in squalor and are buried in unmarked graves. You survived, you prospered. It feels like betrayal. You remarry years later to a widow from another village. She lost her husband and 3 children to the plague. You both carry the same emptiness. You understand each other without speaking. You have new children together. You watch them grow with a mixture of joy and terror. Every cough makes your heart stop. Every fever sends you spiraling back to that week when you buried your entire family. You check them for lumps constantly. They do not understand why you are so afraid. You cannot explain. The plague never truly leaves. It comes back every few years, smaller outbreaks that kill a few hundred here, a few thousand there. You become numb to it. Death is just part of life now, more visible than before, but always present. Your new children survive their childhoods. That alone is a miracle. You have grandchildren who will never understand what you survived. They complain about the rain. They complain about the work. They do not know that they are living in a world rebuilt on bones, that every field was fertilized with corpses, that every town they visit was once a graveyard. Some nights, when the wind is right, you can still smell it. That rotting sweetness of the plague pits. You can still see your son's face. You can still feel your daughter's hand in yours as she died. You survived. That is the only story you were a peasant during the worst catastrophe in human history. Half the world died. You did not. And you have spent every day since wondering why you were spared, and whether survival was a blessing or a curse. You still do not have an answer. You never will.